Alright, so recently a new series has dropped titled The Riddler Year One. It is a direct prequel to The Batman, and it's going to be telling the story of how the Riddler was created through Edward Nashton, as it will showcase his descent from lonely forensics accountant, unseen and unheard by the world on some incel shit, to a 4chan Reddit supervillain god among men. By men, I mean his online cult following. This six-part series is drawn by Stevan Subic and written by Paul Dano, and that is just so goddamn cool considering how he played the character within the movie. What an opportunity to be had being Dano, as I'm not really sure that something like this has been done before, where an actor that's playing a character in a franchise goes off to create an entire prequel comic series surrounding the character. The creative control seems to be at an all-time high within this Matt Reeves created universe, and it is enough to make any Batman fan super happy for this content. Let's dive in. We open up in darkness. Breathe, he says to himself, as the world opens up as we find ourselves in reality at his work desk. Focus on the numbers, as we see the soon-to-be Riddler hard at work at his forensics accounting job. He is steady penning in the numbers, getting as much work as he can done, while he is giving himself assurance that everything is okay. He is okay. That is until his case leader, Zach, creeps in asking if he finished the case on the Smelkinson account. Edward runs it over in his head how he's been working here for 5 years, and Zach has only been there for 5 months, but he is the one that he is turning his work into. You can tell that just by his presence and the way that he's hovering over Edward, that he is the typical office douche bro who does little to nothing and benefits off the hard work of others. Imagine a leech, but in the office. Not a team player like our boy Babyface is. Edward replies that he has the Smelkinson finished. He wonders to himself why he isn't in Zach's position instead. Could it be his fancy degree, daddy in high places, and then contemplates letting his flaccid corpse slip down into the sewer gutter. Edward lets Zach know that he is way ahead of schedule and has the next assignment finished. Zach is like, whoa, bro, and is caught off by the sheer fact of work actually getting done around here. Edward apologizes for his efficiency and dedication. Zach says to keep it between them until the rest of the office can catch up, and then proceeds to call him Rain Man as he walks off with a woman in his arm. Edward wishes as he stares like a doomer. Later on, he calls Zach a prick for calling him Rain Man inside his internal dialogue as he is standing at the train station listening to a self-help podcast. Remember, you're in charge of your life. Shift your focus. What you focus on is what you create. The person he is listening to is Hamza, as he gets schooled on how to go from being a Jeffrey to a full-blown Adonis. Like how Zach is, but with brains and intellect. Nah, he's listening to Rene Rouge as Drifter Bruce. Come on, that's gotta be him standing nearby. Edward thinks to himself how he can shift his focus within Gotham City. It scares and disgusts him as he asks the podcaster why the people of the city look so happy, why it's easy for some but so hard for himself, as we see Wayne Enterprises reflect within his glasses. The train approaches as Edward takes a long look and then proceeds to toss himself in front of the train to get unalived. Stop, he says. Breathe, he says. It was only a daydream, as he is now on the train passing his time completing puzzles, his favorite thing. He looks over at the lady to his left, gives an innocent, friendly smile as that causes her to get up and switch seats. That's so rough, man. My guy's so down bad. He just shows a simple gesture of being friendly to the person next to him. She's all like, nah, this guy's being creepy. He's sending all the signals of being an incel. I oughta move. When in reality, yeah, he is lonely, but also just wants some human interaction like the rest of us. He calls himself a repulsive fool. Did you actually let yourself think that someone might smile back at you? He says to himself. Not to get on some black pill shit or anything, but I bet if he was like a traditional 10, like Bruce Wayne, the lady probably would have smiled back, maybe initiated some conversation, and then things would have been entirely different. He looks up at a poster for the renewal project as it appears to be haunting him and further reminding himself that he is not good enough, that he never got a chance for a good life. Fuck. He truly is down bad. He wonders if the people deserve a chance and how they live their life in a city that tells them day after day that they are fractured and broken with no way out. The man on the train morphs to a monster through Edward's distorted worldview, and then blackness. Shh. Just breathe. He reminds himself as he brings himself back from the trenches. We are in his apartment where he finds himself some peace of mind through puzzles, riddles, and games. Nothing else calms his mind quite like numerical escapism. He signs into his internet chat group through enigma.org and looks up the current thing. He finds Mayor Mitchell running for re-election, then stumbles across some information on that bat vigilante. It states that some man is telling his first-hand account on when he saw the Batman swooping in and beating up a bunch of gang ass. Eddie lurks the comments and reflects on how someone is finally standing up to the cesspool that is Gotham City, how someone is finally saying that they're not going to take it anymore, how they're tired of being afraid, something that really resonates deep inside of Edward as it feels like someone is finally on his side. He sits there in darkness, unable to sleep, just processing thought after thought. His head hurts, and through a quick Google search on headaches, is now convinced that he has a tumor. He goes on to think that maybe it is his destiny to go out of life as he came into it, unwanted and unnoticed. Because if you are familiar with this character from the movie, he grew up an orphan without a parental unit growing up. He doesn't want to accept the truth as he runs to the toilet to puke. Get up, he tells himself. He pulls out an old newspaper on Thomas Wayne, trying to convince himself that he matters. Edward, my guy, king, you matter. He lays there in the darkness writing things down as he is awaiting dawn, so that he knows that he made it through another dark night. Despite being sleep deprived, he tells himself that Einstein only took naps and that he'll be okay. Some say that Elon Musk does as well. Will he be though? Will he be okay? Edward is pretty down bad and clearly suffers from a deep depression, unable to find his place in such a shitty place. Just breathe, he tells himself. We see what he was penning in his accountant book, and those are words of affirmations of him being good enough, followed by a "no you are not" at the bottom of the page. Hang in there, Edward. He tells himself at work that it's another day he can barely breathe through and to just focus on the numbers. It's his only escape. Zach rolls up, and then Edward proceeds to ask what happened to the assignment that he had finished the day prior that was ahead of schedule. Turns out that this fucking guy handed it in and then says that the boss was impressed by how fast they worked on it, despite the fact that it was all done by Edward himself. Edward cocks his head and thinks about the level of fucking audacity that this man holds to steal the credit right after stealing the assignment. He hands over the next set of files that he wants Edward to look through. They need it done real quick as it's from the criminal team upstairs. Zach, the office frat bro, says that he doesn't know what the assignment's about, but if the homies from above can trust them with this stuff, then both of them will be on their way up pretty soon. Edward wonders if that's really true. Then Zach says that if Edward had a better degree, paired alongside with a better set of social skills, he'd be way higher in the company ranks. Sad times. Old Babyface is running the documents and finding some rather sus activities. After crunching some numbers, the balances keep coming up to 10,000 on the dot, on all of them. Sus indeed. Listening to his podcast while waiting at the subway, Rene Rouge is stating that hope is a function of struggle, and he wonders to himself if there really could be hope found in a city such as this, and if there was hope, if he could allow it within himself. Dude just needs to find God. He wants his boss to see his worth and how he is better than Zach in every single way, except for social skills and the ability to charm women, apparently. He hears someone calling for help and he runs to see what's going on. It's Annika, Selena's girlfriend, who is held captive by some local goons. A silhouette of a bat emerges as Edward stands there, bewildered at what he is seeing. Batman grabs a goon and tells him that he is knocking him out by pressing on his windpipe for 5 seconds. He tells him that when they awake, to not let them find him again. Edward stands there. The once flaccid body he wanted to throw into the sewer is now erect as Batman cleans the scene of the goons. He tells Annika to find a new line of work that won't get her into these kinds of situations and then glides away like a true Sigma. He wonders if that really was Batman. I like how the podcast was saying that hope comes from a function of struggle, as right after that, Batman, the symbol of hope, helped a struggling woman. Edward hops onto his Reddit server and fanboys over how he saw Batman and how he was hope incarnate. He holds back the information on the look that Batman gave him and lets the chat know how he looked just like one of them, but bigger. Haha, fuck yeah. He sits there loving the fact of someone finally standing up to the city. We catch up with the office alpha as he is swooning the woman, talking about how he sees himself off in Paris one day, a common alpha tactic used to convince women that he is a romantic man by talking about wanting to live inside the city of romance. We all know he's full of shit, like his pants, as Edward scares him as he creeps in from behind. He asks to talk to him. Zach tells Edward that he's in the middle of something as our boy Babyface informs him on the sus findings he found on the files that he was going over. He says that New Beginnings is making small weekly payments to a parent company called Waterfront Industries, and the weekly payments all add up to an even 10 Gs. Edward schools him on the fact that since 10,000 is a 5-digit number, computers would flag it if a computer was going over it, and that someone has been breaking the money up into smaller 4-digit numbers that add up to 10K so it won't be seen, only under the radar. Zach has no idea what the fuck is going on since he is good for nothing but being useless, and our baby-faced boy, like, come on, look at that, proudly states that might be some dirty money. Zach now understands and goes upstairs to spread the word of the findings. Eddie scribbles down Batman's silhouette in hopes that he will catch his big break on being noticed for his hard work. Then Zach strolls back down to kill his hopes and dreams by saying that Mr. Stone says it's probably nothing and it's just probably a mistake. Zach walks away thanking Edward for bringing it to his attention, as Mr. Stone has now invited Zach out to lunch, tells him not to worry and that he's got it from here. Bruh. Honestly, that is enough to send me on a full-blown villain arc as well. Zach is very much an asshole. Edward hates it and hates Zach. I mean, yeah. He says to himself that it's not fair since he is doing all of the work and just keeps getting walked all over while no one is seeing the work he keeps putting in. He knows he is different but can't help it. Edward, I see you. He tries to keep it together, but at the same time goes off to stalk Mr. Stone after work hours. Edward, come on, you're better than this. He needs to confront him about the truth to maybe get his chance to get noticed. He follows him to the diner from the movie, walks in, and approaches him once Mr. Stone sits down to order some food and drink. Definitely could have went about this a lot better and a lot less creepy, but Edward is a creepy boy and is only thinking in the moment here. Mr. Stone is immediately sussed out and asks if he lives in the area. I mean, that's a fair question. Old Babyface says that no, he doesn't, and then says that he just wants to make sure that he saw the work that he did that Zach talked to him about earlier. As he is getting into the details, Stone cuts him off to ask what his name is and asks if he followed him to the diner. Edward says that he just wants to talk to him about the work that he did and that, yeah, he kind of did follow him there. Stone reinforces the idea of it being nothing. a mistake, if you will, and then tells Edward that he can get into a lot of trouble by digging into this file as he broke rank in doing so. Stone goes off on how if he appreciates having a job that he'll just shut the fuck up about what he has learned and to never follow him again, stating that he could report him to HR for inappropriate behavior. The rats of Gotham scree as Edward also screes at everyone's inability to take him seriously. We catch up in the darkness of his apartment as he scolds himself for following Stone and why he couldn't have just approached him at the office like a normal person instead of just being one big creep about it. If he did this at the office, a connection would have been made, but he's too socially inept to do things normally. A fuck up with not too many healthy habits, if you will, because he deserves nothing, then proceeds to scald his hand on some hot soup he spills after mentally beating himself up. Even though Mr. Stone and Zack say the findings were a mistake, Edward knows he never makes mistakes. A man of confidence. He sits there brooding in the dark and wonders why no one will listen to him. He looks at his Batman sketch and wonders what the Dark Knight would do, what he would say. His phone rings, and as if the universe was listening, he gets a news update on a former convict standing trial claiming assault by the Batman. Edward goes to attend as court is now in session. Bang! The judge addresses Mr. Higgins, the man who all of this is about, and says that the police received an anonymous phone call about his whereabouts. He was found where the tipster said he was with some cash and some drops. FYI, if you didn't know, drops are a drug within the city of Gotham that appear to be a big problem amongst the Gothamites. Higgins' lawyer says that it's clear that Batman planted the drops on his clients and then proceeded to call it in himself. Judging by this guy and how he says the Bat guy, the Batman is still most likely a myth within the city, since it is his first year out and about, as I assume not too many people have had the graces of encountering him. Edward wants to know more about Batman. His obsession is forming. It'd been forming. Higgins says that he is an honest man who was mugged by the Bat and that they should be after Batman and not himself. You were dealing drops, bro. Come on. Eduardo smells bullshit on him saying that he is an honest man and is about to head back to work. Higgins is then pressed on his employment and then proceeds to say that he works at the New Beginnings Animal Rescue out in Tri-Corner, saying that it's a rough area but they try to keep the animals there. Edward perks up since this is the same company with all the suspicious 10Gs that he picked up on his work. He gets asked if he works for a charitable cause and then says that he is committed to giving back. Sir. He gets called out since Higgins is a known felon previously associated with the Maronis, who also got busted peddling drops, and doesn't believe that he has turned his life around to rescue puppies, since it's kind of absurd. I agree. Higgins backs himself up and then proceeds to say how it's true that he used to run with the wrong crowd, but that was years back. Jail changes a man. It can rehabilitate someone, even renew them. Edward hears the word renew and is like, the fuck you just say? As he is now thinking about the renewal project. He is asked if that's how he got let off with such a short sentence, by being rehabbed. He says that he ain't no rat, if that's what he was implying, and that he did his time. He says he just wants a new beginning, and that resonates with Babyface all too well. After court, Edward pulls up to the animal rescue down in Tri-Corner. He walks in and asks if the dude behind the desk is the only one working there. He replies that he is, and if there's anything that he can help him with. Edward asks if a Mr. Higgins works there. The desk guy says that he does, but isn't there currently, as he slyly reaches down and presses a red button to alert Higgins down inside his lair of whatever the fuck he does down there. Man's got chains and hooks hanging from the roof. I don't want to know. He turns his attention to the security monitor to see Edward standing there as Higgins gets up to scope out the situation. He goes to address Edward and asks if he is looking to donate or adopt a pet as he holds out a caged rat. Looking kind of intimidated and caught off, he says that he just wants to look at the puppies. Same. He says that there are no puppies in right now, but big dogs, they got those. Edward dips quick as Higgins smells the sus. As old Babyface tries to get away, he almost gets hit by a car, then is yelled at. Edward stops to gather himself coincidentally right outside of the Iceberg Lounge as he catches notice on some unsuspecting people within Tri-Corner. He notices Annika, the girl that Batman rescued. She's being introduced to Zach by Mr. Stone out of all people, and says that she'll be taking care of Zach tonight, meaning that Mr. Stone is moonlighting at the Iceberg Lounge while partaking in the shady shit that's going on there, ultimately meaning that there's something very big and something very not right going on, and Babyface is catching on to all of the clues as everything starts falling into place. We end this issue on a sketch of Batman over top of Edward's late night drawing saying that he matters. To be continued. Damn, dude, that was really good. I knew going into this that this issue would be good, but it really exceeded my expectations. Paul Dano really came through in the writing and made you really feel for and connect with the soon-to-be Riddler. You really get to understand why he thinks the way he does as to why he doesn't feel good enough, why he feels like he isn't being seen by anyone, why he isn't being taken seriously, and through his blooming obsession with Batman, why he takes up a vigilante mantle of his own so he can be seen and can be heard through his findings on the ongoing corruptions within Gotham City. Next issue comes out late December, and I am really looking forward to working my way throughout the series. I really love the serious and mature nature of how they're approaching this, and it very much matches the tone of the movie. I love the art style as well, as it also matches the art style of Batman the Imposter, which is also an excellent The Batman prequel series written by Mattson Tomlin, who actually did co-write the movie alongside Matt Reeves. But yes, I'm going to end things here. I'm going to continue covering this series, so subscribe if you want to follow along. But anyways, wrapping things up, my name is Freddy Savage, bringing you The Riddler, Year 1, Issue number 1. Catch you again when Issue 2 comes out. Peace.